This video describes how to run a CRC-12 check in NetSim. Once NetSim is opened, the toolbar has programming menu containing various programming exercises. We need to go to error detecting codes and select the cyclic redundancy check. In any programming exercise, you will see that the mode block contains sample and user options. Sample means that the code is already written in NetSim, while the user mode means that the user has to write a piece of code and interface it with the NetSim. Initially, we go with the sample option, and then there is algorithm block containing various CRC algorithms. We select CRC-12. Coming to the condition block, if we choose no error, then the data will be transmitted without any error. But if we want to add in some error during transmission, we need to select the error option. The next block is the input block, where we need to select a text file containing the input string. Note that in NetSim, the maximum size the input text file can have is 5000 bytes. So I have already created a text file with the input string, and I'm going to add it as the input. In the next block, click on Run to see how the transmission occurs between the sender and the receiver. So node 1 is the sender and node 2 is the receiver. If you notice, at the destination, the CRC value that is being calculated is 0. This means that no error has been introduced during the transmission. Now let us look at a case where transmission occurs with error. For this, we will refresh the screen. We will keep it in sample mode, and the algorithm is CRC-12. And now the condition becomes error, and I'm going to input the same file as I did before. And now we will run this and see how transmission occurs in this case. So here it is obvious that at the destination end, the CRC calculated is not 0, and also it is totally different from the CRC that is calculated at the sender end. So this means that there was some error that is being introduced during the transmission, and that is why there is a mismatch in the CRC values calculated at both the nodes. Now coming to the last block, help, there are two options. One being the concept, algorithm, pseudocode and flowchart, which basically gives an overview of how CRC-12 works, and then the interface source code, which is a pre-written code to which the user has to add his own code for this transmission to work. Now let us look at the basic algorithm of how CRC-12 works. So the string that we have given as input in the form of text file is converted into binary, and the ASCII value of the first character is divided by the 2, and remainder is appended to the string. The quotient that is obtained in this process is carried as the next number for division. This process repeats until the quotient becomes less than 2, and the process continues for all the characters present in the data string. 12 zeros are appended to the final binary string formed by the above process, and the entire data string is divided by a generator polynomial of CRC-12. To know what is the generator polynomial of CRC-12, it is given under concept, and the binary equivalent for the generator polynomial in CRC-12 will be this. Now the 13 MSB bits are taken from the binary data string, and if the leading bit is 0, an XOR operation is performed with the 13 bits of zeros and remainder is obtained. If the leading bit is 1, XOR is performed with 13 bits of CRC generator polynomial and remainder is obtained. First bit of the remainder is discarded and made to 12 bits, which are divided into 4 blocks and are converted into equivalent hexadecimal number. At the receiver side, this hexadecimal number is converted back to binary and is appended with the CRC variable, and 12 zeros are added at the end, and this entire binary string is divided with the CRC generator polynomial. Now coming to the interface source code, as I mentioned earlier, this is a pre-written code with predefined functions. These functions can be modified according to the user's code, or user code can be written in accordance with these functions. Let's say the user writes his code in accordance with these functions. The code that user writes has to be added in the part which says write your code here in this pre-written code. So this is the part where user has to write his own code in accordance with the predefined functions present in this interface source code.
Okay, so we'll go for how to do the CRC-12 for an user defined code. So once we click on user, will a dialog box pops up which tells us to input an exe or a jar file. So you have a C code that you have written to perform this operation. Now how do you convert it to an exe or a jar file? So it's pretty simple. You open a Visual Studio and you open your code that you have written in C, and that you need to convert to an exe file. So now I would like to add that the sample code that you have been provided with in NetSim, it has a set of set of predefined functions, and you can use those functions to perform the CRC-12 operation. You just have to write another function so as to call those set of functions which have been defined previously in a particular order, so that you can perform this operation. So I'll just go over what I have done in this function that I have. This is called fncrc12. This function what I have added so as to perform the CRC-12 operation. So first thing that I've done is taken the input string from the txt file, and allotted a memory location to it, as you can see here. Then you can pass the pass string as you can see here. Now once you have passed the string, that means you have the data in your hands. Now once you have the data, you have to perform the CRC. You can read the content of the data and perform the CRC-12 check. Now while you perform this check, you have to consider two cases: if whether you're performing with the check with an error or without an error. If it's without an error, then you don't have to do much. The original output that you get from the get CRC-12 function, you have to pass it on as the output. However, if you are doing for an error case, you have to add the error to the string that you get as an output from the get CRC-12 function. That's it about the explanation of the code. Now I'll tell you how to convert this into an exe file. So click on build and click on compile. You have this message, build succeeded. Now click on build and go to build solution. Now you get this message, build succeeded. And if you check your folder where you have created this project, or the folder where you have this file crc12.c, you'll get an exe file in the same location. Same location, but it will be in a folder named debug. So I'll just show you how to get that exe file. So you'll click on browse. This is your CRC-12 project folder, and you'll go to debug and you'll see this exe file. Click on OK. Now we'll perform this check with a no error case. So we'll input this text file and click on run and wait for it to perform the operation. So we are doing it for a no error case. That means their calculated CRC should be 000. So we are getting the correct output. Now we'll try it for an error case. So we'll click on refresh. We'll select the same exe file and we'll click on error. We'll input the same txt file and we'll click on run. And one thing that is to be noted is that when we are performing this CRC-12 case operation with an error case, for both the user defined code and the sample code, the calculated error, that calculated CRC at the node to or the receiver side, should be the same. That is 60F, which you have been getting it for the sample code also. That means the code that you have written to perform the CRC-12 operation is correct. So that's it.